Hey everyone, and welcome back. It's me, Anas, and Jack as always, and we have a special guest today. It's Marcus, Marvel Man or DC Man. I don't know, like he has too many names on Instagram, but it's awesome
Yeah.
to have you, man.
Yes,
Thank
welcome
you.
to our world.
Thank you. It's awesome to be here.
I think we have talked about doing something together, me and Marcus, for more than a year ago. It was me, Marcus, and Nick, but I ended up being drafted to the military, and it ended up just being him and Nick covering Daredevil. It was kind of weird, but we did it finally. A year and
Yay!
3 months
Better late than
later.
never. And good timing too. It's an
Absolutely.
exciting time for comics, for Marvel, for everything.
Oh yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, we're here to talk about this show that I have it covering me. It's awesome, and I'm loving
Yes.
every single moment of it. And I can't wait to hear from you both. So let's start with Marcus, since he's gonna talk
Go ahead,
about the
man.
first 4 episodes. So let's hear from
Go for it, Marcus.
Yeah. I mean, I loved these episodes, man. They were so. I love the fact that they go into the whole comics as it is. You know, the rise of Apocalypse and the the adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix. I mean, it's just so perfect. I mean, yeah.
So, which episode was your favorite, and which team was your favorite?
Are we talking only the first 3 episodes, right? Or 4?
Yeah. I think this applies more to the first 3, but yeah, we're talking about the 4 episodes in general.
Honestly, the 4th, I'd say. It's really packed a
Good
punch.
choice. I totally understand that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that the first 3 were great character-driven stories, and I think the 4th is like lot progression.
Yeah.
It's still character-driven, but it's about the villain, so it's
Yeah.
same character-driven as well as plot-driven.
It was like a real it was kind of like remember it. It was an oh crap moment. It's like, okay, yeah, this is a big turning point, and this is one of those episodes where a lot of consequences will be felt for a while to come. Because if you look at what happened in season 1, after the events of Remembered, every event, every subplot, it kind of extended from what happened in that one episode all the way up to the finale. And this feels like this episode 4, Rise of Apocalypse Part 2. Yeah, it feels like everything that happens here is going to stem directly from what happened in that episode, and probably beyond. If I don't know if we want to get into the subtle hints towards Onslaught that we saw, but that was the vibe I got. I don't know if that's true, but what do you guys think?
Marcus?
I mean, yeah, it could definitely. I mean, it's hard to tell really, because to me that should have happened after the ending of first season. Considering the comics and all. But at the same time, the effect of that wasn't really as big as it is in the comics as well, because the time travel. Well,
Yeah,
pull some
exactly.
time. Yeah. So it would be great if they did Onslaught, but I don't think for this season, to be honest, because it's a little bit too big to me.
For now, I can understand that, but given what happened, what kind of led up to it, where do you think? Where do you think it's heading in terms of with Apocalypse? Because this is very much, if more than anything else, these first 4 episodes established, this season is going to be about stopping Apocalypse.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if you just watch the titles of every episode, it's kind of obvious. But I mean, at first, I am read everything that has come out later years as well. So I know that he is a part of the X-Men, and I was kind of afraid that they were going to do that. And they kind of went back in time. Very glad that they didn't. And honestly, the way that they did this in the 4th episode, it just tells me that this is going to be probably very massive in the end. I mean, just the way that they ended this episode. So I think it's going to be really, really good, honestly.
Same here.
Yeah.
For me, I'm excited to see how they resolve Onslaught, especially with, them taking elements from multiple runs. And one of the elements that someone brought it up on Twitter, I can't remember if it was you, Jack, or someone else, but they spoke about not Giant Size X-Men by Grant Morrison, when Jean Grey absorbed Professor Xavier into her mind when he was died.
Yeah.
What if Xavier does that to Magneto, and instead of, what happened in New X-Men, it creates Onslaught?
That is I don't know who pitched that, but would make sense, because we saw because in the comics, at least, Onslaught is very much like the worst parts of Charles Xavier mixed with the worst parts of Magneto and give that character reality warping powers on a scale that's even bigger than Proteus.
Yeah.
And that is a dangerous entity, to say the very least. And, the comics kind of, I have the original Onslaught saga in my collection. And that moment with the reason why I think, like Marcus, you brought up the comics and how it was actually when Magneto ripped the adamantium out of Wolverine. That's when Onslaught, technically, when the catalyst began, because when Xavier attacked Magneto, then that was sort of the chipping point in the comics. But I honestly think that if X-Men 97 tried to do the same thing, it wouldn't work, because it would be too much of a leap for Xavier to go from who he was at the start of the season to someone capable of creating Onslaught.
Yeah.
Because Xavier is, in the comics, Xavier kind of went through this. I think it was kind of started with Onslaught. He went through he kind of went through this long period where his character, his ethics, his morality kind of declined to the point where he lost a lot of credibility with the X-Men. That's why he had to step aside for a long time. I think what happened at the end of the Grant Morrison run kind of just, solidified that. But with X-Men 97, he hasn't really gone down that road yet. Maybe what happened with Magneto and Wolverine in season 1, that was the first step. But what happened in episode 4, I think that's a much bigger step, because just his expression on his face at the end of the episode, the look of horror, that feels like, in an animation, that is very deliberate. I think that's seeing his friend be just butchered like that by an enemy that he's already had to deal with many times before. That's traumatizing, to say the least. And if that's not enough to birth something like Onslaught, I don't know what is.
No, I agree, definitely.
So something that I wonder, what do you guys think about it? Where do you think danger comes from? Is it gonna be comic accurate, or is it gonna tie into the celestial technology?
That's interesting. I think my personal theory is it might be some kind. Danger is going to be an AI that gets corrupted somehow, and I think X Factor is going to be responsible for it. That's my prediction, because X Factor kind of is kind of coming off as, just from, I know they were only in one episode, but they struck me as the kind of government operation that will shoot first and ask questions later, and they won't ask for permission, and they will mess with things they don't understand, because government operations do tend to do that. Just, I don't want to get political, but that is a pattern in both comics and the real world. Just saying.
Yeah. I myself, I haven't actually read that much about Danger. I think it has something to do with Cerebral, right? I might be off about that.
She was the danger room. She was the AI that ran the danger room.
Right. Like you say there, that it's corruption and all that. It makes perfect sense. And as well as that, it is the government part of the X Factor. In the comics as well, it gets kind of let it off the rails, kind of, before they kind of bring in Forge, and eventually just dissolves the whole part of the government, as it gets worse and worse. If you look at how they bring in both Sabretooth and Mystique and all that. So it makes sense that they would kind of derail something there. Yeah.
The reason I ask is because of how they changed a lot about Apocalypse and Cable, yet they kept them comic accurate to an extent, but changed a lot about them. So, for instance, the reason why Apocalypse became Apocalypse and even discovered the techno-organic virus is Cable going back in time and meeting Ensabanur, and that led him to discover the celestial technology as well as the techno-organic virus when he tore Cable's arm. But we didn't get any of that. The X-Men turned Apocalypse into being Apocalypse, and the techno-organic virus was something sinister infected Nathan with, and not Apocalypse. So that's why I'm asking, would it be out of reach if they change Danger from the AI that Professor Xavier enslaved to celestial technology? Maybe even Ship, because Ship later becomes Professor in the comics, Cable's AI, but maybe one of its evolutions is to become Danger.
That
makes a lot of sense.
There's also a chance, and this might be blind speculation on my part, maybe some computer code from Bastion infected the Danger Room, because Bastion was in the Institute. Trish Chilby was there when she kind of went through her little mini Sentinel transformation. So maybe if there, maybe something from Bastion systems infected the Danger Room somehow, and it warped the AI to the point where it just becomes danger. I mean, you think about what danger is. I don't think it would take a lot to turn that into an AI that just exists only to test the X-Men.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely. So, with that being done, what did you guys think of Kang or Ramatat?
Ramatat or Victor or which version of Kang? You're going to have to be a little more specific, Anis.
He called himself all of that, so let's see how it goes.
Marcus, what are your thoughts on him?
I thought it was great, honestly. I mean, he is, especially at that time, comic-wise, it is something that kind of connects a lot of different issues, just that exact instance. So I love seeing him in there. Yeah.
I was surprised at how just that one episode did more justice to Kang than Loki or Quantumania. I mean, I know that's not saying much, but the fact that the exchange that Ramatat / Kang had with Xavier, that one exchange encapsulated Kang better than anything I saw in the MCU, which is pretty remarkable because not a lot of people understand like the Ramatat part of Kang's character. They only know Kang as, most people who will know Kang, they either know him with the goofy costume, they know him from Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes, but they don't know Kang like all his variations and, how complicated he is in terms of, all his identities. But it all started technically with Ramatat, because Ramatat was essentially Kang's first effort to conquer. But in doing so, he essentially created Apocalypse. He in both the comics and in this show, he is kind of he's almost like a time traveling troll when you think about it. Like because he knows on some levels that what he's doing is he's laying the foundation for something awful to disrupt the timeline, something that wouldn't have happened if he hadn't interfered. But he does it anyway because he's Kang and he doesn't care. All he cares about is conquering, and he knows he knows what this does. It's all about all the variations it's going to create. But again, he doesn't care. He only cares about what's this going to mean for his future, his past, his present. And I think Ramatat is he feels like he's the worst possible influence for ancient humanity. I mean, he's a tyrant to the utmost. He the way he had his his generals treat En-Sabanor. Like, what else did you expect? Like, it's like I don't see how he couldn't have become someone like Apocalypse. It feels like Ramatat. Maybe he probably knew on some levels he was going to create something awful, but I think Magneto underestimated just how bad this was, because I think someone else pointed this out. Essentially, Magneto, who kind of knows how he turned out because of what happened to him in the past. Essentially, En-Sabanor kind of endured a lot of the same things. He was a slave. He was treated like a freak, and the idea that I can influence him to make him better. Xavier thought he could do that with Magneto, and Magneto almost pretty much wrecked the world in season 1.
Yeah.
But he thinks he can do the same to Apocalypse, who was way, way worse and way less sympathetic than Magneto ever was. It's almost like, what did you expect is going to happen? Did you really think you were going to turn this guy into something good? Because it's just never been Apocalypse's nature.
I think that Magneto was broken somehow.
Okay. That's not an unreasonable, a reasonable observation. Yeah.
But in a way, it kind of makes sense as well that he would try it, because he kind of went the same way as well. I mean, sure, it wasn't as, down to the bone bad as Apocalypse, but I mean, this is the beginning of Apocalypse. This isn't all those years that has kind of made him worse and worse, So I kind of can see why Magneto would try something like that, because, he has gone the same path.
Yeah, so I'm excited. I think that the thing that the MCU did with Kang that this show avoided is extending the mystery too long. Like,
yeah,
I know right now we talk about Jonathan Major as the person, and we talk negatively because of what he did. But as an actor, when the Loki show was coming out, when Ant-Man came out, people praised his acting, and it wasn't related to the
Yeah.
acting or the presentation of the character at all when it came to him. It came down to the writing. Like,
Yes.
I remember one of the things me and Nick did an episode about was the fact that they never called him Nathaniel.
Yeah.
And they spent 3 years doing that.
Yeah. That made no sense.
And yeah, I think this is why Kang suffered in the MCU, but we will see how, things go in the future. Hopefully they are not done with Kang.
Yeah.
I don't know if they're done with Jonathan Majors or not. That's out of the wind in the wind, but we'll see if they're out with Kang or if they will change him. Because, the Young Avengers are coming. And if we take the rumors with a grain of salt, but say them anyway, it seems like the Young Avengers or Champions or whatever you want to call them in the MCU are going to be in Doomsday to some extent.
Oh, cool. I hope that's right. I want to add one more thing about the Jonathan Majors version of Kang. Aside from the acting, I don't know if you guys have ever taken a creative writing class or just a writing class in general, but there's this common thing that most teachers will tell you. It's show, don't tell. And one of the problems with Jonathan Majors Kang is he was all talk. I mean, from Loki and mostly through Quantumania, it was like he talked about what a threat he was. But in this one single episode of X-Men 97, Kang showed you what a menace he was. Like that, like at the end of episode 3, what he did when he fired that weapon to try to essentially kill everyone in that area, which included Baal. Okay, that's showing you what kind of person he is. Also, towards the end, when Kang just he says, "Oh, well, Apocalypse is coming. I ain't sticking around for this," and he just leaves. That shows you the kind of person he is. Doesn't tell you. And that's something that Jonathan Majors Kang just never did. He was too much talk, not enough action. That's just my insight.
Yeah. I don't think, this is the major problem with the MCU phases 4 through 6, especially during the Kang era. It's not related to Jonathan, it's the whole era. If you remember, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness suffered because of that, because they wanted to explain incursions and not show anything.
Yeah.
Like, that was and I don't know, I don't want to say it like that, but it seems like the writers of Rick and Morty are not fit to do MCU stuff, because they did all of that. They did Ant-Man, they did Doctor Strange, Loki, and that's their method. Like, that method works for Rick and Morty, but it doesn't work for the MCU, especially with the budgets that they use. Like, I think Loki as a show had a budget of 300 million.
That's insane for a show.
Yeah, like, I think we have the budgets of most of the Marvel projects because of the UK laws regarding taxes. So I have it right here. I'll bring it up. Loki season 1 is at 200 million or so, and Loki season 2 is at 150 million.
Jeez, like,
So,
how
like,
many? Yeah,
they had the
that to the
budget
first
to do
Iron
it.
Man. Yeah.
Yeah, they had the budget to tell everything and not to show and not tell. But I don't know why they chose to just tell.
Yeah. I think maybe they were just too focused on teasing things down the line rather than focusing on, like, sometimes if you take such a long view, you're not going to pay attention to the stuff that you might trip over that's right in front of you. And that's something else that I learned writing terrible fan fiction for it was over 20 years. So that's something that I feel like they thought, well, but they built up so many plot threads in like phase 1 through 3. But the thing is, despite that buildup, they always kind of focused on, they treated each movie as like, we're not going to assume it's a sequel. It's going to lead to something bigger. Like, if you look at watch the first Doctor Strange movie, you don't need to know. If you didn't know there were prequels, you could just go into that movie cold and it still works. You can't do that with Loki. You can't do that with Quantumania. You can't do that with almost any post-Endgame movie, except for Fantastic Four.
I think you can do it with most movies. It's just that you will know that you're missing something, but it's not essential. Like, my friend is not really into MCU or comic stuff. He grew up watching some stuff, so he watched the original Raimi trilogy, Fantastic Four, and so on, but never really sat down and watched the MCU. He is currently watching the MCU movies without the shows.
Oh, okay.
And from what I can tell, he is enjoying everything, and he is not disappointed by he's not feeling that he's missing out, despite the fact that, for instance, Thunderbolts and Captain America 4 depend heavily on knowing what happened in Falcon and the Winter Soldier with multiple characters. Isaiah Bradley, John Walker, even Yelena from Black Widow and Hawkeye. Like, it depends on the shows, but he didn't feel that there is anything missing. He felt that he knew the characters well from Thunderbolts. And I think that's what it should be. And they're doing it well. We are not feeling that they're doing that, but I think they are. Especially like right now, it's easy to miss an MCU show. Like when the shows first started with WandaVision and Falcon and Winter Soldier, everyone wanted to watch everything. COVID was here, and so people didn't have anything to do except watch stuff. But right now, it's easy to see that Wonder Man came out and no one watched it, or Ironheart.
They should. Wonder Man was great.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Yahya Abdul-Mateen just got an Emmy nomination today as we're speaking.
It deserves it.
Yeah, for Wonder Man. So like, it's awesome. But my point is that people are missing MCU shows, and it's not affecting the viewership. I don't think that a lot of people have watched or even remember Falcon and the Winter Soldier. A lot of people watched it because of the time it came out, but not a lot of people remember it. A lot of people watched Daredevil without remembering Echo, despite the fact that Echo like heavily impacted Daredevil, especially with Born Again season 1. So I think they're doing it. So really quickly, here's the budget. So Loki's budget, where the budget for season 1 is 150 million, season 2 is 141 million. Falcon and the Winter Soldier is at 150 million.
That's a whole MCU movie.
Yep. Moon Knight is at 147 million. Secret Invasion is at 212 million somehow. Ms. Marvel is at 150 million. Hawkeye is at 150 million. Echo is at 40 million. I think that Echo, Daredevil, both seasons of Daredevil as well as Wonder Man are the lowest MCU projects cost-wise. They seem to be at the 40 to 60 million range. And then we have She-Hulk at 225 million.
So She-Hulk and Secret Invasion were the most expensive and the least liked. I think there's a lesson to be learned there.
Absolutely. Like everything else is around the 150 million mark. Again, with the exception of the street level stuff.
Yeah.
So I think that, I don't know how things are gonna go in the future, but it seems like in the past couple of years, Disney has figured out how to do streaming, unlike when they were doing it during COVID, when throwing everything at the wall and seeing what sticks. With quality-wise, even budget-wise and everything, I think now they know how to manage it. Because while the reports say that for the first 3 or 4 years they lost money, it appears that they have started
a lot of money
to win some money back on Disney Plus and Hulu from the I think 2024 to now.
It's true.
But I think like if we are comparing just the Marvel stuff, I think that the box office of Marvel movies, even phases 4 through 6, has covered for any losses when it came to the losses of the Marvel shows, or even the couple of whimpers they had in the box office with the Marvels or Captain America Brave New World, that stuff.
Pretty sure Spider-Man No Way Home helped make up some of that shortfall.
Yes and no. So technically, no, because Marvel Studios and Disney do not get anything from the box office from Spider-Man.
Not the box office, but the merchandise.
But the toys. Yes, that's what I was going to talk about. So we all talk about the failures and success based on the box office, but we don't have a lot of accurate information. So we never have the marketing numbers, and we never have the toys and merch numbers. And I think that that's why we never know what did well in the like overall or not. And I think that's why Marvel treats everything as a win, because yes, the shows didn't make money, but the merchandise apparently it does a lot of money. Like there is no way Disney would be cool with just getting the merchandise money from Spider-Man if they are not doing as much as the box office.
Yeah, exactly. Like I don't think enough people appreciate how much money Spider-Man makes. Spider-Man alone makes like $1 billion in merch. Like it's, and the closest second is Batman, and Batman is like only 400 billion. So Spider-Man's merch alone is more than enough to make up for whatever for the box office. And I have already seen some promos for Spider-Man Brand New Day. Pretty sure that even if Marvel or Disney did not got only like a penance from the box office, whatever it ends up being, it'll be the merchandise sales alone will more than make up for it, like by a
Absolutely.
lot.
And the word of mouth as well. So not everyone knows that Disney doesn't take like any money from the box office, but everyone would know that Disney delivered a good Spider-Man movie, so they might be inclined to watch something else from Marvel, especially with Doomsday coming up. Yeah. I'm trying to look up a certain number here. So
while you're looking that up, I want to highlight one more thing about the fourth episode of X-Men 97.
Sure.
Because here's another theory that I want to entertain. It has to do with, like, I've noticed since episode 1 that there's been this recurring theme that they call Apocalypse he who never dies. Like, he's someone that no matter what happens, the X-Men cannot defeat him. Even if you read the tie-in comic that came out just this past Wednesday, which actually it had Jubilee, recounting some events from the original show. Like, people might not remember, but in season 5 of the original show, Jubilee was part of had this episode where it was called The Fifth Horseman, where she worked with some former acolytes of Apocalypse, and they essentially they set it up so that Apocalypse would be reborn. So the reason I'm bringing this up is because Xavier is he and the X-Men have faced Apocalypse throughout the first show. They faced him multiple times, and they thought they've defeated him on multiple occasions, but he always comes back. And just the fact that we saw in the future he was still kicking around and he was at the peak of his power is proof that the X-Men aren't going to succeed. And I think that maybe that's another reason why Kang left, because he says, well, the X-Men no one's going to defeat Apocalypse in this timeline, so I'm out of here. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think this is where it's going to lead to. I think when Xavier entered the mind of En Sabanur, like that I think that act might be the key to essentially Apocalypse's undoing, because the X-Men, they have not been able to defeat him any other way. But maybe just by being in his mind, Xavier might have done something while he was there, something he probably wouldn't have done prior to attacking Magneto when he ripped Wolverine's adamantium out. I think whatever happened in that moment when he entered that mind of the man who would become Apocalypse, I think that's going to be sort of what puts Xavier over the edge in terms of he's going to cross a line that is going to maybe make him more antagonistic and more to the rest of the X-Men, because the show has done a good job of following the comics, and one of the big plots from the comics that began in the 2000s was, as we discussed before, Xavier losing favor with the X-Men. I think it's likely that he's going to be the one who figures out a way to take Apocalypse down once and for all. But it's going to come at a cost. That cost is probably going to be what leads to Onslaught. But I've been rewatching that sequence with Xavier in Sabanur's mind, and I genuinely believe that by the end of this season, that is going to be that might be the key to his defeat. But what do you think? Like, how do they defeat Apocalypse this time? And
go ahead, Marcus.
Do you have theories? Go.
Sorry. You mean how do they defeat in what exactly parts? Do you mean?
Like, yeah, how does it play out? Because we know the final episode is called "Survival of the Fittest" of season 2.
Yeah.
So how do they do it this time?
Mm-hmm. Well, I suppose he would not be the fittest anymore if you go for his own creed, if you look at it that way. Honestly, though, it's very difficult to answer, actually. I would say something probably, mind, like, as you say, it's probably Professor X, probably planting, changing the way he thinks, honestly, because he is as powerful as he is. That's the way I think.
Okay. So it's like he would succeed where Magneto failed?
Yeah, I'd say so. I'll probably change.
Okay.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting. Okay. Ennis, what do you think?
I don't know. I think, as I said, we are dealing with reality-altering stuff. And with that, and tying that to the 90s, I can only think of the Phoenix or Onslaught. They are the two people that can alter reality. And when it comes to Apocalypse, the way Apocalypse was defeated in the comics was that, his body was destroyed and he was merging with Cyclops, and then genes separated them. So, again, Phoenix or an Onslaught.
Yeah, that could be the case. I can also see them.
Mother Ascani.
Okay, yeah, Mother Ascani. I did think, that's an interesting. That might be different than my theory. So I do think maybe they will take some influences from the 12, but instead of Cyclops merging with Apocalypse, I think someone like maybe Xavier will try, and that's going to be what creates Onslaught. Because you saw, I think one of the coolest sequence of episode 4 was when En Salvador kind of goes into that celestial den, and he goes through that crazy transformation, which looked unbelievable. I mean, I thought that was just the coolest sequence. You see him literally transforming into Apocalypse. Imagine Xavier going through something like that, and the end result is Onslaught. Like, imagine maybe instead of he rips Apocalypse's armor right off him, but instead of destroying it, it goes right onto him. That would be a hell of a sequence, and it would also be pretty terrifying from the point of view of the X-Men, because again, the only thing that's probably powerful enough to stop him, probably the Phoenix Force. We know from Mother Ascani that it's there, but it's just a matter of how are they going to use it.
I think it's just a matter of how do you want to juggle Jean Grey, especially like, I know we talk about this a lot, but going to the era in the comics where they are going to synergize with X-Men 97 as well as Marvel Rivals, it seems like they want to keep them separate, like keep the Phoenix and Jean separate, but keep them together. Like they want to balance this out somehow because, the power of the power scaling and how to keep Jean as a part of the X-Men. So it's just a matter of time and creativity, just like how they did it in the last season. The Phoenix is non-existent. Then, okay, how to wrap this plot up with Bastion so that we can get to the other thing. Okay, let's bring the Phoenix here for a hot second. But, Jean, the Phoenix, of course, is gone now, but it just came to save her son. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I can buy it. I can buy it. It's good enough explanation.
Yeah.
So the numbers I was looking at are the MCU, basically the known numbers that they paid for or the cost for the live action movies as well as the shows versus the box office. Of course, that doesn't account the marketing, but at the same time, it doesn't account for the merchandise, as we said, or even the ads that Marvel gets from sponsors like Audi or the many sponsors they get for their movies. So Marvel Studios spent around 4.7 billion on everything from phases 4 through 6. With
That's
6, we're only counting Fantastic Four. We're only counting Fantastic Four. So not Doomsday, not Secret Wars, nothing like that. And the return in the box office was 9.67 billion.
That's I'm not good the best at math, but I can see that's a positive difference. Yeah.
It's the same. So it's the same math of phase 2. So I have the numbers of phase 2 here. One moment. Phase 2 made for I think they spent 3 billion. Yeah, they spent 1.21 billion, and it got 5.25 billion. Again, we're just talking about the known numbers, so we're not counting the marketing, the merchandising. So I think they balance each other out. Marketing is an expense, but merchandising as well as ads and sponsoring, it's profit. So I think Marvel Studios still are profitable, and I think that anything they lose, they still cover for. My point is that they are stupid. They were stupid, but they are getting better with how to do stuff. And the only critique that's left is not related to superhero fatigue. It's not related to even bad movie fatigue, which is a problem. I think it's related to how many people will think that they need to watch the shows or not. But for me, as long as personally, as long as the quality is good and they continue producing that stuff, I'm good. It doesn't matter whether the show or the movie failed or succeeded. It's good. They're continuing with it, and that's the best thing that they can do. And the same thing goes for Supergirl. Like Peter Safran came out and said the same thing. Okay, Supergirl didn't lose money, but we're not ending the universe. She is the Man of Tomorrow. Everything's fine. We'll just cover for the losses, and that's it.
That's fair. Yeah, did you see Supergirl, Marcus?
Not yet, but I'm definitely going to do that.
Yeah, check it out. It is worth seeing.
Yeah, it's a fun movie. No spoilers. I think for me, it's around the same quality as Ant-Man or Aquaman, so it's enjoyable.
Okay. Yeah.
Not the best thing, but something to have fun with.
Yeah.
I'm gonna when it comes out on streaming, I'm gonna try to rewatch it and maybe do some because I have some. It's one of those movies. The more you think about it, the more you understand why it's not doing as well as Superman did. But that's neither here nor there. But there's a whole lot more we could say about the state of DC in the movies. But right now there's a lot more going on with Marvel. And
Yeah.
one thing I also you brought up, and as you brought up marketing, Marcus, I don't know if you were around the same time I was in the 90s when the X-Men were sort of at their heyday, but I remember back then and the glut of X-Men toys and merchandise that was around throughout the 90s. It was on another level. It was like we've never had that in the after the millennium, after the year 2000. I think the Fox movies, I have opinions on those. But yeah, it does not compare to just how big and prominent the X-Men were in the 90s, not just from the terms of the comics, but the merchandise. And I'm not, I don't have numbers to back this up. They might have even been on the same level as Spider-Man for a while, but yeah, that is something I think the next phase of the MCU, if it's going to revolve around mutants, the merchandising angle with X-Men, I think that is something Disney, they know it has potential because most of them were probably alive during the 90s. They remember how big Marvel was back then, how big they were back then. And if they can get the merchandising going for the X-Men, well, that's a revenue stream that's going to more than make up for any misfires in the MCU.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
And I obviously didn't live through the 90s, but from a comic standpoint, we know that there was a comparison made at the time that X-Men stood on its own to the point that it could have been considered a fourth company rivaling Marvel, DC, and Image.
Yep.
So I think that definitely had some effect on the toy sales. So do you have anything else to say about X-Men 97? Because I have a few pieces of news here that we may have some fun to discussing them because they're related to DC and streaming and things we've talked about.
Okay. Marcus, do you have any?
Yeah. What did you think about the X-Force episode?
You mean the Jubilee episode? Where Jubilee completely stole the show and
pretty much
shined in ways she has never shined before.
Exactly.
I love that. That is actually my favorite episode thus far.
Yeah.
I have rewatched that sequence. That sequence with her escape. I don't know how many times, but it's that was my favorite. I mean, I know it's called X-Force. I know Cable kind of got this, but Ernest and I talked about this last week. But that episode was my favorite, and just seeing Jubilee essentially go from this overwhelmed teenager in the first episode of the original series to that, as someone who's followed X-Men since the 90s, I can't tell you how satisfying that was to see.
Yeah, I felt the exact same way. I just love the fact that she just took care of all of that by herself.
Yes.
Love that.
Yeah, I think was so much fun.
Yeah. For me, nothing topped episode 1 just because of my bias. Like, I love Adventures of Cyclops and Phoenix, so that was to me the top episode so far. Yes, plot-wise, episode 4 is better, but for me, that's the top. And when it came to the X-Force episode, all I could think about is how did they get Teddy Sear to voice Havoc? Yep.
That's a mystery I don't know if we can solve. And
every time I hear his voice, I'm thinking of Zoom, like when he played Zoom on The Flash, and right now he's just Havoc.
And speaking of voice actors, did you notice they had an unusual number of Star Trek actors voicing? We got Star Trek. I think Mr. Data is the voice of Kang, which I didn't realize that until I saw the IMDb. It's like, oh my God, that's Data. I thought that was so cool. It's like I never would have guessed in a million years that the same guy who voices Kang in that episode would be Data. But it worked.
Wow.
It worked beautifully.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
I think Star Trek and Marvel have had a weird relationship for a long time, especially since, Patrick Stewart and Chris Hemsworth are associated with the franchise. And they're two of the biggest known MCU or Marvel actors, I should say, with Professor Xavier and Thor.
Yeah. Solid synergy, I gotta say. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I do have one more thing on X-Men 97. Sure. This is more of a speculation thing. We know from the trailer that they're going to don their Frank Quietly, Grant Morrison era X-Men uniforms. I think the reason they're going to do that is because once Xavier gets back to the present, we know Bishop takes him back. He's going to be in such a poor state and they'll have to deal. We have X Factor and X Force to be at odds, and the only way to kind of stop the conflict and maybe try to get some semblance of peace is to like bring them together into X Corp. I think because I think just being the X-Men and bringing them as soon as the X-Men come back, things are just going to snap back to normal after what happened with Bastion. It's just they have to do something bolder, and I don't know if Xavier is going to be the one who leads that, but we know from the trailer that the they're going to have those units. We saw that one shot in the trailer where the X-Men are have like other members of X Factor alongside them, so maybe X Corp's going to be their effort to try to bring them all together when they're going to need to be together to fight Apocalypse. And maybe I don't know if that's the case, but we know the X Corp is plot is coming, and we also know from the teaser of the post credit scene we're going to have a Weapon X story coming up in the next episode.
Yeah.
So I think there was that they were joking about DVDs at the end of the trailer. I don't know if you remember that. I think it was, I don't know who mentioned that. Was that Lady Deathstrike who mentioned that? But my hope for that is, and I don't know if this might be too hopeful on my part. I hope it leads to some version of X-23. I would love nothing more than for X-23 to enter this series, because we've already seen other characters from that era. Like we saw Quentin Quire, Glob Herman, the Stepford Cuckoos. These are characters who were made in the early 2000s. Guess who else debuted in the early 2000s? X-23. And another. Yes.
Go on.
So I would love so much for X-23 to enter X-Men 97, but something tells me that might be hoping for too much. Maybe she'll come in the next season, but that's my hope.
I think it's possible to have her, especially since she's more high profile than any other kid of her era so far. To blockbuster movies that made billions of dollars in the box office. So they can definitely do that. It would also be kind of ironic since she was created in X-Men Evolution.
Yes. Yeah. I remember that episode so well. I knew from the second I saw that episode, yep, X-23 is going to be a star. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I knew watching that episode, this character is going to absolutely take over, and she did.
Yeah. She is cool. I love her. So I think that, since we're talking about X-23, I think that the problem that she has suffered from for a long time is the comparison that they made with her and Wolverine all the time, and that they want to make her the new Wolverine. I'm like, I'm not gonna get political, and I know people try to turn this political, but the simple issue is that, let's take Batman, for example, because I don't think that anyone takes Batman politically. Grant Morrison.
You'd be surprised.
Grant Morrison made Dick Grayson Batman for a long time. But then he was back to being Nightwing, because Nightwing is a different skin than Batman, and that's where Dick Grayson belongs. And I think that this is the same issue with Laura Kinney, but she became Wolverine during the 2016 Marvel Now era, and everything was political at the time. So right now, everyone has to fight about X-23 being a code name for her being a slave and all of that stuff. Despite the fact that Wolverine is an animal, like if we're gonna talk about it from the X-23 is a slave name, Wolverine is an animal. Weapon X is a slave name. Scarlet Witch is a slur. I know they reckon that later, but the reason why Wanda's called Scarlet Witch was because someone made fun of her and called her the Scarlet Witch. A lot of comic names came out of weird shit. So why are we making everything so political when it's not? Again, Wolverine's an animal.
I'm an American. I know way too much about that kind of discourse, and it gets ugly for all the dumbest reasons. There's no other way to describe it. But the one thing that I think makes why that works is because Laura is Logan's daughter. The fact that their family. I mean, this isn't like it's not like Riri Williams, who has no relation at all to Tony Stark, and or even Jane Foster. I mean, she has a personal connection with Thor, but she's not Asgardian. She's not related to him at all. But Laura is part of Logan's family, and the comics have done a really good job since that 2016 era of establishing, Wolverine, Laura, Daken, and Gabby. They're all part of a twisted but lovable family. Yet they're weird in the sense that the circumstances are totally screwed up, and they all have so many issues. But the fact that they have so many issues is kind of what brings them closer together. That's what makes them a functional family, relatively speaking. And and I think Getting back, I'm sorry I keep coming back to
No
X-Men
worries.
97 like this, but
Yeah, we want to talk about X-Men 97. We love doing
the reason why I think Logan would needs someone like X-23 to enter his life is he needs a plot that doesn't involve Weapon X or pining over Jean Grey. He's been doing that since the first season of the first iteration of the show. Give him something else to do. I mean, yeah, he was kind of a good father figure to Jubilee when she first joined, but we saw in episode 2, Jubilee can hold her own now. She has graduated in more ways than one. But I think Logan needs something else to sort of, he needs another family connection. Jubilee has grown up. I think if X-23 enters the picture and if she's as messed up as she was in the comics, she's going to need her dad. And in the comics still, Laura does need her father. Like when he died, she was messed up about it. And whenever they team up, she makes it a big point to, keep that connection. Like some of the best moments I've seen with Wolverine involves when him trying to be a family to Laura and to Gabby as well. So I think that would be a very, very necessary change of pace for Logan, because again, he's had the same 2 plots since the first show, either whining about Jean Grey or being Jubilee's mentor. He needs something else, and X-23 I think is just what he needs. Sorry for the rant.
Yeah, no worries. No, I love it. I think, the issue with the mental swaps is not really 2016 or what happened. I think that the mental swaps are done right when the heroes are not there for any reason and someone replaces them, but then the heroes come back and they, the other heroes get back their own mentals. So Nightwing with Batman, when Batman was thought to be dead. Bucky as Captain America when Steve was dead. And same with Laura. Laura was great as Wolverine when Wolverine was dead. But right now, you have 2 of them, and to distinguish them, everyone has to say Laura or X-23, because if you ask anyone who Wolverine is, they would tell you the hairy guy with clothes. They will not tell you about the lady, And, Miles suffers from that as well, but I think that Miles as Spider-Man has just become a brand on his own, so everyone knows Miles Morales Spider-Man. So
thanks to the Spider-Verse movies.
But I think that's what I think about X-23. What do you think, Morris?
Honestly, I know very little about her. I've only read up to 97, but from what I've seen and what I've heard of her, it makes a lot of sense that she would be a family member to teach her and stuff.
I think I forgot to mention that. So Marcus does these blogs on Instagram. He has different accounts on Instagram. A DC account, a Marvel account, and an indie account, and he's covering things in chronological order. So when he says he read until the year 97, he has read a lot of stuff. So we're talking about most of Marvel's publication at this point. Yeah,
that's fair.
So it's crazy. But so since we were talking about streaming, some news came out post the Supergirl fiasco that are interesting to see. So DC Studio is developing a Mr. Terrific series written by Alan Heinberg, who we know from Sandman as well as Young Avengers. What do you guys think?
He also wrote Children's Crusade. Didn't he work on that too?
That was part of his Young Avengers run. Yeah,
I'm in favor of that. Children's Crusade was one of my favorite comics from that era, and I think Mr. Terrific, he stole the show in Superman 2025. I remember I actually saw that movie with my mother because she loves Superman, and she kept asking, "Who is that? It says that's Mr. Terrific." He goes, "He was cool." And when your mom thinks someone's cool, that's when you know he's stolen the show.
Yeah, definitely,
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, what do you think, Marcus?
That's another character that I'm not overly knowledge about, but from what I saw in the movie, he is pretty awesome, and it would be awesome to see him in a standalone movie or series.
Yeah, I think you're near meeting him in the comics. So, like, his major appearances are in JSA in the late 90s, the run by Jeff Johns and David Goyle, I think. Yeah. So, other than that, we also have the star of Obsession, who I know her from Superman and Lois, in the Navarrete, who said that she's open to joining the MCU and that she recently had a meeting with the director of X-Men and thought of it.
I have a theory on who she might be playing. I think she's going to be Kitty Pryde. I think she'll be Kitty Pryde.
Honestly,
that's my thought.
That sounds good.
I think, because Kitty Pryde, I know she hasn't she hasn't shown up in X-Men 97 other than just that picture, but she's a really prominent character in the comics. She has been for many, many years. She had a decent role in X-Men Evolution, even though she she wasn't as prominent as other characters. But I think I could see her, given her age and what she's demonstrated so far. I think Kitty Pryde should be a good casting for that.
Yeah,
That's my thought.
Absolutely. For
definitely.
me,
Yeah.
I didn't. Yeah, go ahead, Marcus. I'm sorry.
No, I completely agree. Yeah.
Yeah. For me, I see that as well because, as I said, I know her from Superman and Lois, and is about teenager drama,
Yes.
and that was her plot, and she was cool there. Like I was sad to see her go, but CW cut the budget on Superman and Lois, which ironically made it really good because we spent less time with the supporting characters and more time with the main characters. But yeah,
Yeah.
we also go ahead, Jack.
Well, I was just I was just going to say that sometimes when a budget gets cut, and we saw the same thing with Deadpool, it does sort of force the movie or show to become more character focused. And sometimes if you do that
Yes.
right, that can work really, really well. I don't think when Supergirl had the show had its budget cut, it worked quite as well. But with Superman and Lois, I think they did the best they could with the character stuff. So just my thought.
Yeah, I think for me, like the issue with Superman and Lois is that season 2 and 3 really became the Lana Lang show with Superman and Lois and their family as their supporting casts.
Yeah,
And
that's fair.
that irritated me a bit. So when they had to cut the budget, they chose to bring the cast back, the supporting cast as cameos. So what happened is that you actually focused on Superman, Lois Lane, and their kids, and that made it work well for me. So like my favorites are 1 and 4, 2 and 3 are good, especially compared to the other CW shows. But it was the Lana Lang show, and for that reason, it was not for me.
That's entirely fair.
Yeah. So speaking of Loki and Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, and our dear friend Michael Waldron, who is known for Rick and Morty and these 2 movies, is gonna serve as the head writer on the Disney Plus Nova show.
Yes, I saw that. I'm taking a wait and see approach on this one, just because I love Rick and Morty, but I don't think that translates quite as much. That has translated well to the MCU for reasons that I don't want to really delve into. But I don't want to. I don't want to get too fatalistic, or too optimistic either. I'm just saying, wait and see. That's my thought on that.
Yeah. And I think for Nova is gonna have a challenge because James Gunn set the bar too high when it comes to anything cosmic.
Yeah.
Marcus?
Yeah, I can agree. James Gunn's Guardians of the Galaxy were absolutely fantastic, and like you say, the bar is pretty high. But honestly, I mean, sometimes even though you think it might not be as good, it might be great. It depends really on everything just clicking. So yeah, I'm definitely gonna watch it either way.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna watch it. I'm just, I'm a bit concerned, but I'll tell you something. So Michael is working on Doomsday and Secret Wars. So I think that these 2 movies will be a litmus paper of what we can expect from him in the future. Will it be more of what he did previously? Will it be something different? I'd imagine it would be something different because, I don't think that Disney will keep him doing what didn't work when they know that it didn't work.
We can hope, only hope. But
Hopefully.
But I've always had. I think the problem with Nova on any capacity is how are you going to set that apart from Guardians of the Galaxy? Because, like you said, those movies set a pretty high bar, and not only that, how are you going to set Nova apart from Lanterns? That's coming out too. So it's it's
you
like
don't need to do either.
Yeah, I'm kind of uncertain of
Yeah. So I think that, James Gunn laid the foundation since we already know that the Nova Corps exists.
Yeah.
And we know that they were decimated on Xandar. So we technically have the origins of Richard Rider. We just need to see it. So what to do next? I think, James Gunn left the door open for a new Guardians movie with a new roster. So we can put him in charge of this new roster or with the new roster, especially, they're not done with Peter Quill, but Peter Quill is back on Earth. And according to leaked concept art from a couple of years ago, he's going to be in Vision Quest.
That'll be fun. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that there is a place for Nova. And,
Yeah.
I don't really care about the similarities anymore. I think, like between Marvel and DC, I don't think that they need to differentiate, especially because the differentiation when it came to adaptation didn't really serve them with anything. So, like, they made the changes to Namor to not make him Aquaman. The changes didn't really change anything major, and they were just and similar thing happened with Gore the God Butcher when they were trying to avoid the similarities with the Harry Potter's character.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I have thoughts on that too. I don't want to share that.
Like, hey, like you don't need that, just go with it. And I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
James is doing that well. He's using his own template in the DC movies, and he's like, okay, people like Guardians, I'm making more Guardians at DC. That's fine.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
You know,
If it works, stick with what works. But there's one ingredient to a
Absolutely.
Nova movie that I think would definitely make it worth seeing. And I have one word, Annihilus. If that movie sets up
Absolutely, yeah.
Annihilus
But
as a threat, I think that would definitely go a long ways to making it work.
Oh yeah.
yeah, I think that would be great. But I don't know. So I don't know if Annihilus is good for a movie or a show. So the project right now is being set up to be a show. Will
Mhm.
Annihilus be good for a show, or does he deserve, the big screen stuff?
I think it can work with both. I mean, we are going to get, I think, according to if Vision Quest, if the rumors are true, Ultron's going to show up again. In fact, I think
It's not a
James
rumor.
Spader.
James Spader's back. Yeah,
Okay, I didn't
they
want to.
confirmed it. He confirmed it.
Okay. Just wanted to not speak prematurely, but yeah, if they can put
Yeah, no
Ultron
worries.
in Vision Quest, I don't see why they can't put Annihilus in a show and a movie, because he is one of those villains whose influence can span both.
Yeah.
I think it's about scale. So Vision
Mhm.
Quest, as far as we know, is gonna include all of the AIs that have been in the MCU, and it's about the AIs balancing, their are they humans or a life form, or are they just machines? That's the basic premise.
Yeah.
And it's spinning out of, what happened with Vision, because, the Mind Stone made Vision a human and an evolved being because it was magic. But now that it's gone, he's just, metal parts. So what
Yeah.
does that make him? And,
Yeah.
we have Karen back from Spider-Man Homecoming. We have James Spader. We have the introduction of Jocasta. So,
we
like,
know Ultron's opinion of his quote unquote humanity. So it's going to be a matter of will others resist or embrace that side of him, because Ultron in terms of how antagonistic he is, he's really not that complex. I don't know if any of you guys have ever played Marvel Rivals, but the lines they give Ultron in that game are spot on. Like if James Spader says those lines, they would just be perfect.
yeah. So moving on, I guess. Do you have anything to say about that, Marcus? I'm sorry.
I mean, Ultron is a great villain when done right. To me, in Age of Ultron, he wasn't done right. Hopefully, I mean, now they're gonna do a more human side, as I understand it. At least he's gonna look human.
Yep.
So it's gonna be big question if he's gonna act more human or not. But yeah, it's gonna be fun either way to see him. I mean, James Spader is awesome.
Yeah.
So I mean, yeah.
Yeah. I wonder if they're going to make him, if they're going to try to drop some similarities to Raymond Reddington, because I don't know if you've seen The Blacklist, but James Spader his best role by a long mile. But
Yeah.
the thing about one of the things when I heard that they cast James Spader to play Ultron, I'm like, that's perfect, because like Raymond Reddington, he knows what he is, he loves what he is, doesn't apologize for it at all. Ultron is at his core just a murder bot. He likes being a murder bot. He wants to be a murder bot. He strives to be the best murder bot that ever murder botted. And I think in that sense, James Spader knows how he knows that mentality better than anyone. So if that's something I really hope they capture with Vision Quest, because Ultron is just kind of at his best when he's just striving to be the greatest murder bot he can possibly be. And and no matter what form he takes, that's his goal.
Yep. I'm excited for that show. I think it comes out after Daredevil Born Again, so we don't actually have to wait that long for it.
Sweet.
Yeah. So what's next when it comes to the news? So Jimmy Tatro is in talks to star as Gorilla Grodd in Jimmy Olsen's spin-off series.
I love that
That-
idea.
Nice.
Yeah, Jimmy Olsen was such a fun character in Superman. He was kind of
Yeah.
underrated in the sense that just the role he plays. Like usually Jimmy Olsen is only a supporting character, but you rewatch Superman, that plot doesn't get resolved without Jimmy Olsen. And I can't remember the last time a movie did something like that with him.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind of
definitely.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead, Marcus.
No, definitely. I completely agree. He's great in that movie.
I think the last time he was major in any media was in Supergirl when they made him Guardian for some reason.
Yeah. I remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, that was a fun version of Jimmy, but they kind of just sidelined him after a while.
Mm.
It's not Jimmy. It's it's Guardian from the Teen Titans,
Yeah.
but they call him Jimmy. I don't know why.
Yeah. They kind of they tried to blend a lot of characters there, but I think Jimmy Olsen works. He works best when he plays a supporting role, and then occasionally does something more active. Like I don't know if you guys ever saw the Bruce Timm Superman series. Like they had Jimmy Olsen in there, was kind of just an intern. He was a teenager and he screwed up quite a bit. Like early on, he really didn't do a whole lot. But as the show progressed, he got to have more and more roles. Like at some point, he helped defeat Metallo with a car battery of all things. He has definitely he can be a badass when he needs to be. But the idea of having him, giving him a show and getting someone like Gorilla Grodd involved, that's a great. That has all sorts of fun potential. Like Grodd is one of those characters who as long as you don't take him too seriously, he's great. You just gotta lean into how absurd it is.
I'm excited to see it. I think that James Gunn is definitely taking a weird direction with DC, but I'm enjoying it nonetheless.
In a good way,
Like Peacemaker, like there's no one major that he has introduced so far other than Superman, the characters in Superman. Everyone else
don't
is
forget
like
Creature Commandos.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not
definitely.
forgetting, but all of them are like C to D list characters. You know, Creature Commandos starred Red Flag.
But that was still a fun show. I mean,
It's great show. I'm loving it. I loved everything I've seen so far. It's just that, the biggest hits he had are Blue Beetle and Suicide Squad and Superman.
Yeah. I would hope G.I. Robot shows up as well. He was the most lovable character in that in Creature Commandos. Although I think introducing him now, given what things are like here in America, that would piss off certain people, but it would piss them off in the best possible way.
I mean, it kind of did with Peacemaker season 2. Like Peacemaker season 2 came out during the current regime, and it
trust
did
me,
Earth
I
X.
saw the
It
discourse.
left everything and did the Earth X, and it was fun to see. It was crazy to see.
I got a lot of I got into I try not to engage too much in some of the debates, but when I saw some of the like there's a certain crowd of grifters. I don't want to name their names on this podcast. I don't want to give them any oxygen, but they loved highlighting that season of Peacemaker and how they thought, oh, it's gone political, and like what kind of politics? And they would kind of dance around it as what they're saying is, no, come on, say it. I know what you're trying to not say. And people were just kind of trolling, okay, stop and say very slowly what your problem is. The fact that you have an issue with the politics of this show it's telling. That's all I want to say.
Yep. I think like if they thought about it for a minute, they would shut up because, unlike the real world where you could argue some stuff, like if you're just a person who is thinking and not a racist, you can argue some stuff in some sense, especially that everyone is corrupt, like when it comes to the political landscape. But this show was like black and white. It was so black and white. This was literally a world where Hitler won.
Yeah. The same. I noticed the same discourse happening with the Boys finale. I remember we talked about that before, Anis, but there's this subset of, I don't want to call them fans. I just call them assholes for the most part, where they will talk. They say they didn't like something, or they rail against something because they because they say, this is Hollywood preaching to us. This is there's an agenda behind this. They're trying to paint certain people in a certain light. You know who I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But every time they do that, I'm like, stop, back up just a little. explain to me why this particular political leaning from the 1930s and 40s is, why does that trouble you so much? Because you're kind of telling on yourself right now. And I don't know if you realize this, but that's not something you want to go shouting out.
Yep.
Now, I know I'm being very diligent with my words here, but that's only because engage with people like this, it just doesn't go well. It just evolves into, you call anyone you don't like a racist. I'm like,
Yep.
back up. Let's go over this very, very slowly.
Yep.
But it doesn't matter how slow you are. They still, I think they know on some levels, they just don't want it because they know it screws up their narrative if they admit it.
You know, it's like the world is crazy, but I think that a lot of people don't realize, especially in the US, that the world does not revolve around you. Like, what I mean
Yeah.
is, everyone is talking about the bombing of Supergirl, and they're like, oh, it bombed because
Yeah.
of the grifters on social media. The grifters on social media might have affected the domestic market in the US. That's
Yeah.
true. I'm not like denying that.
Mhm.
But this, like, the US and the domestic market is a small market compared to the large market.
Yeah.
It's nothing compared to China that doesn't engage at all in
Yeah.
politics or know about it. Personally, like, I have a colleague at work who have been trying to get to watch anything with DC, and she's like, I'm not watching anything because I haven't liked anything I've watched from DC in the last 20 years.
That's fair.
And that's the mentality of a lot of people worldwide, and that's really the challenge that James Gunn's facing.
Yeah.
It's not the grifters, it's not any, like, those guys that shout, yes, they can affect the domestic market,
Yeah.
but they are not being listened to in Egypt or in China
Mhm.
or anyway, many miles away from the
Yeah.
US.
Yeah. As an American, let me just say this out loud. I love America, but Americans are kind of stupid, like in their own American sort of way. We are and I admit this, we are not particularly, we're pretty short-sighted. You could point us, you could hold a bucket of water in front of us and we still wouldn't know how to drink it. That's kind of how Americans are. I mean, we're friendly. We could be friendly. We can be lovable, but we're not. We're pretty stupid. I'm sorry, we just are. And I can't not when it comes to issues like this. Another problem is this might not be too related. James Gunn still has to deal with the fans of Zack Snyder, and us having dealt with some of those people before, they are some of the most insufferable human beings I've ever come across. Like, they will never ever be satisfied, no matter what James Gunn does. It doesn't matter if his next movie makes $2 billion at the box office, they will still bitch, whine, and moan until Zack Snyder's is allowed to come back, which ain't happening. That bridge has been burned and the ashes have been scattered.
Yeah. But they are a minority by the end of the day.
Yeah,
it's not
they
really
are.
like it's the same minority you're dealing with, just different aspects, whether it's political or Gunn versus Snyder.
But don't tell them that. Those are fight words for them.
Yeah, I've blocked a lot of them anyway.
That's the way to do it. Marcus, I encourage you to do the same if you haven't already.
Yeah. So right now I'm looking at something that might be interesting. So a lot of people
Go
bring
ahead.
this up. We don't know how Clayface is gonna perform, but
I'm so excited for
theoretically,
that movie.
if it does around 240 million, it could cover for its own budget as well as the losses for Supergirl.
Yeah, doesn't that movie like have a really low budget?
It's at 40. If we multiply for the marketing, it's gonna be like 80 million.
That is nothing. I mean, that's like the first Deadpool movie.
Yeah, I think that's why it can cover for Supergirl, and not because of that it's gonna be a great sell. I don't think that Clayface is gonna be a great sell. It's not the Joker.
Yeah. Well, it doesn't have to be.
Yeah, it's gonna do fine, I think. But speaking of that, the Authority is back on the table as well. So a while back, James Gunn said that it was benched, but apparently it's back on the table. Yeah, from Deadline.
Okay. Well, if it's Deadline's pretty reputable, so I'll be okay with that.
Yeah, all of the DC news I just gave you are from the same articles, like with THR. So and Deadline. So yeah.
Okay. Well, we do have San Diego in 2 weeks, so maybe that will make it more official. So
Absolutely.
I would love, I would love it. Maybe if that will give us like a more full length trailer for Clayface. We got that teaser a while back. I really think Clayface coming out in October is perfect because the way it's framed, it looks like a perfect Halloween movie.
Yep. I'm gonna enjoy it. I think I'm gonna watch it and enjoy it, and that's it for it. Last thing, since we're talking about Batman villains, there's a rumor. Now that's a rumor that Matt Reeves is gonna develop a Poison Ivy project in his own Batman universe.
I wouldn't be mind seeing that. Well, how would that work? How do you think that would work?
Yeah.
I mean, we're still in the early stages, but I'm a huge fan of Ivy. So I just want her to be done right, and I think it's complicated to do her right with Ivy, which is something I enjoy about the current run of Poison Ivy. How to balance the chaotic nature and Deadpool likeness of Harley Quinn versus someone that's very serious and dangerous like Ivy. So yeah, it will be great. And I think, they're also doing Swamp Thing at DC, so I think they have a template for it anyway.
Yeah.
Nice.
Have you seen, have you guys watched the Harley Quinn show, the cartoon?
Some of it, but not all of it.
Well, the reason I bring that up is because if they're going to do a Poison Ivy movie, that's the template I hope they follow, because she's probably the most, when you see the origin of Poison Ivy in that universe and, how she became what she became, that would be a great thing to bring to a movie. I think that because, she's not totally evil, but she's not exactly good either. She's not heroic. She will she can become a monster if you push her a certain way. And I would like if they could kind of do what for Ivy, what that show did for her, I think that could totally work, especially given given how the world of Batman sets up. Yeah, I think that would do great.
No, it's awesome. So personally, I haven't watched the show, so I can't comment on it. But I've read multiple iterations of Poison Ivy's origins, and I think I enjoy a lot of them, and they're all similar, especially the recent one in Absolute Batman.
Oh yeah, that was quite a spectacle. Everything in Absolute Batman is a spectacle. But can we talk? If we have time, can we talk a bit about Absolute Batman?
Sure. So I think that I want to hear from Marcus first, since he has been silent for a while, and after that we can discuss Absolute Batman first.
Yeah, you mean about Absolute Batman or about Poison Ivy? Or
just what? So you have Poison Ivy and Absolute Batman. Let us know what you think of both of us.
Absolute Batman, I barely touched, honestly. I've seen some stuff on Instagram and stuff. Looks great. But like I'm trying to kind of read chronological as well, but it takes some time, So, but Poison Ivy, I mean, yes, absolutely. I mean, she's a great character, so I would love to see her just in series and stuff. Absolutely. Yeah.
Good choice of words there.
So, what do you want to discuss about Absolute Batman right now, Jack? And we can avoid spoilers since a lot of people, the latest issue has come up, but not a lot of people read it. So let me know. I read it, but let me know what you think, or we can discuss it without spoilers.
Well, I didn't want to touch the ending either, because that is a heavy spoiler, and I highly recommend anyone who hasn't read the latest issue to check it out. But the reason why I want to kind of discuss it is because of how the last few issues have been building up Scarecrow. Like the Absolute Universe has done a great job making all the villains just so much more menacing and daunting. But what they've been doing with Scarecrow has been kind of different. I mean, it's hard to know if this version of Scarecrow is kind of all in Bruce's head. You don't know if he's just kind of he kind of feels like a nightmare troll. I think I heard someone on Reddit call him something like that. But yeah, this version of Scarecrow is like, he's not trying to rob banks. He's not trying to start a gang. He's like, because none of the villains in the Absolute Universe really need to do that all that much, because they the universe already, accommodates them. So this Scarecrow just kind of he just likes to screw with people who are prone to fear just for the hell of it, just because it's fun. Kind of like how, Bullseye does what he does, because it's fun. And it kind of like the way Scarecrow is kind of building up so far. He's like he doesn't really have much of an agenda other than messing with whoever he fancies at the moment. But the difference with Batman is he seems to have some sort of feels like he has had influence on on Bruce's life. Again, I'm trying not to get too heavy into spoilers, but he's starting to get Bruce to reevaluate the events of the day where his father was killed. And it's really tough because I was in a discussion thread on Reddit about this. Nobody is certain whether this is all in Bruce's head, this is some kind of effect of the fear toxin that Scarecrow uses, or if this is some kind of elaborate scheme where Scarecrow is working with the Joker, because Joker's kind of been pulling all the strings in the Absolute Universe since the beginning. But yeah, Scarecrow, nobody seems to can make sense of him. That's kind of what makes him even more terrifying, because he is such a he's more like he's kind of like Nightmare in the X-Men or in Doctor Strange, more so than the Thomas Crane character we saw in the Nolan movies. Like, what do you think?
So personally, I enjoy that kind of stuff. So I enjoy it because I've seen it done before. Like, it's interesting in a new and but not in a new way. So it's basically like Reverse Flash. If anyone has watched the Flash show or even read the comics, at the same time, it's also similar to Moon Knight a bit. How Moon Knight doesn't know what's real and what's not, and for a long time he didn't know if Contra is real or if he's just a crazy vigilante.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And I don't know, maybe we'll find out soon enough. But yeah, I'm loving how all the absolute villains have been handled so far. Everyone from Joker to Scarecrow to Veronica Cale to Ra's al Ghul, and we still don't know what's going to happen with Lex Luthor in the Superman, Absolute Superman. But the sheer horrific nature of what happened to him, that was disturbing. Again, I don't want to get into spoilers, but Brainiac really messed up Lex in the Absolute Universe, and I don't know where you go from there. Absolute definitely takes it to another level.
Nice.
Absolutely. So with that, does anyone else have anything else to say, or do you want to talk about anything else?
I did see there's some previews for DNX came out, the next X-Men event. Not much was revealed. Yeah, there was just some preview teasers and some solicits, but doesn't reveal anything we don't already know. I mean, we heard from the rumor from Bleeding Cool that there's going to be a big real X-Men relaunch at the end of the year, kind of to coincide with Doomsday. So DNX doesn't seem to change that at all. But yeah, I don't really see a whole lot else on that front. Another thing is, do either of you watch the show called My Adventures with Superman on Adult Swim? I don't know if they have it overseas.
No.
Yeah, they do, but I don't watch it. I think I'm gonna start watching it just before Green Lantern comes out, the Jessica Cruz spinoff.
Have you watched it, Marcus?
I haven't seen it yet.
If you get a chance, do give it a try. And the reason why I recommend it so much right now is because season 2 and the first few episodes of season 3 it gives us a very different version of Supergirl. Like a version that's very different from the Bruce Timm version we got, a version that's also very different from Miley Alcock's version in the movie. Like, this is a version of Supergirl we haven't even seen in the comics before. So, but in a good way. Like, it might be probably like season 3 has definitely made Supergirl like more distinct than I've ever seen before. And I keep trying to recommend this show to people who won't give it a chance because they don't like the art style. But I'm like, seriously, just season 2 alone, the way this show handles Supergirl that makes it worth watching, because it feels like it's doing what should have been done with Supergirl, because she is such a weak, going back to how the movie failed, or how Supergirl as a character has always been a problem, because name a iconic villain of hers. Most of her villains are Superman's villains. Like, name an iconic romantic subplot she's been a part of.
They always tried to make her Clark with boobs, as we said last time.
Yes, exactly.
Supergirl, the show is a great show, but it's literally Clark Kent's show.
Exactly. Yeah. She's just Clark with boobs. She is absolutely not like that at all in My Adventures with Superman. She is so different from Clark on so many levels, in the way she carries herself, the way she talks, her history. It's so different, but she's still Supergirl. And that's something that, this is probably I just feel like I should make a video on this at some point, because it's like, okay, you finally did something to make a Supergirl who's not just Clark with boobs. And it's like, why did it take you so long to do this? I mean, it wasn't like it wasn't like this was difficult, because this version of Supergirl is like, she's more alien than she is human, but she's trying to be a human and just not very good at it. Like, she's trying to fit in, but she's not very good at it because it's still new to her. She didn't grow up on Earth the way Clark did, and that's something that always bothered me. Like, if you look at Miley Alcock's Supergirl, even though she was very alien, like when she first met Clark, the fact that she looked and carried herself in a way that looked like a normal human, like, that feels like like a mistake. Like, how could she look that human that quickly? But with My Adventures with Superman, and she's still adjusting. Like, she doesn't know much about humanity, and she's trying to, and it's led to some hilarious and adorable moments. It's like, if they had taken that approach to Supergirl in the movie, I guarantee you the movie would have made more money and it would have won a lot more fans. Yeah, the judges would have still complained about it, but they complain about the sky being too blue if you let them. So yeah, if you want a better version of Supergirl, one that we haven't seen before, watch My Adventures with Superman.
Well done. Especially, as I said, with Green Lantern, I'm gonna try to watch it just before Green Lantern.
Yeah, we get a brief glimpse of Jessica Cruz in, I think it's season 3, episode 2, I want to say. And she looks adorable too. That's another thing about the show. A lot of characters are just absolutely adorable. Like, even Superman, he's like the most lovable dork in the history of lovable dorks in that show. Like,
I mean, he's played by Jack Quaid, so what do you expect?
Exactly. And that's exactly how Superman should be. I mean, he is a goody two shoes dorky guy. Like, and which is that's one of the problems I had with Henry Cavill's take. He made Superman too brooding, but at his core, Superman is kind of a dork. I mean, the glasses alone give that away. No offense to you guys. You know, you're wearing glasses right now. I'm very aware of that. But
it's dorky and we love it.
Yeah. Clark Kent and Superman, he's dorky, and My Adventures with Superman plays up the dorkiness to the nth degree, and I mean that in a good way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Maybe,
so, please.
If I catch up, we can review it, but I'll see how that would work.
Yeah, I know, but yeah, it's a very bingeable show. I mean, it's not even going on for too long, and if you can binge it, do it. It's a show that doesn't require a whole lot of. It's not too complicated, but it's just fun.
Awesome. I'll update you as soon as possible when it comes to that regard.
Yeah. And it's a perfect counter to Witchblade.
Cool. And of course, with Marcus, we'll see how it goes next with all of the adaptations and everything. Of course, we will have you on more often than that. It's just like, hopefully scheduling things would be easier right now, especially that I'm trying to get a fixed schedule. It's not working so far well, but I almost got it. So we will see how this goes. X-Men 97 reviews, Lanterns is coming out. We have a lot of great stuff to talk about in the future.
Yes.
Definitely.
Absolutely. So, as we're wrapping up, Marcus, tell everyone where they can find you and rant about comics with you.
So I'm on Instagram mainly as Marvel Man 901, DC Man 901, and Comic Man 901. So it's a little bit divided there. Yeah. Also on TikTok, YouTube, and most other platforms, really. Not as much as Instagram, but yeah.
Cool.
And as for Jack, do you want to talk about the recent video you just got out?
Yes, I just posted a video about the Kingpin. I meant to post. I posted a little earlier when Daredevil was still fresh, but I got sidetracked with a lot of things. But yeah, I just put the video up yesterday. It's called Kingpin, Marvel's Ultimate Criminal. Do check that out if you want to celebrate. It's just focus on Kingpin in the Daredevil, so it just focuses on him as a character across Marvel's history. Please do give that a watch when you get a chance. And also, I've been trying to do some YouTube shorts to react to new episodes of X-Men 97. My first, I tried to do one as quickly as I could after I saw the episode this past week. If you like that format, let me know and I'll try to make more.
Nice.
And for me, I recently put out a video review, not really reviewing, but more comparing the 3 female-led ongoings. So there's Zatanna, Scarlet Witch, and Poison Ivy, because I think that they are similar in a lot of ways and very different in major ways as well. So give that a shot. And, with that, I think we'll wrap this up and see you all next time. Bye, everyone.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Take care and stay safe.
Bye, guys.
Bye. Thanks for being on, man.
Hey, thanks for letting me in.